So this happened over 12 months ago when I was in a public shop and I wanted to buy some new equipment there. So I went and I had a look at some laptops, and I asked the staff if they had it in stock, and the staff said, "Yep, we do. We'll go and check that. Just wait here." And as I was waiting, I noticed that there was another customer in the shop, a young male in his 20s, who was also kind of loitering around the same area where I was waiting. And I made eye contact with this person, and he got sort of quite aggressive from the start. Asked me, what are you looking at? And I didn't want to get into any confrontation with him as a trans person. This kind of sort of intro is quite common. Sometimes as trans people, you kind of sense that people are looking for an excuse to start a fight with you. So I just said to him, I'm not looking at anything, and I hoped like that would sort of defuse the situation. Unfortunately, as a trans person, my voice is not always cis passing, and sometimes it's our voices that can give us away. And it was at that point that the guy who was probably staring at me, trying to work out if I was trans, and he actually approached me and came over. He kind of challenged me again, that he got quite threatening. He raised his fist, and he used a derogative normally associated with gay men. He used the word faggot. I don't remember the other words he said, but it would have been something like, are you looking for a punch in the face, faggot? And at that point, he drew his fist back. But at any rate, I kind of had to move back into the shop away from him, and I kind of told the staff in the practice what was happening there. I think that it might have been the staff who sort of called and notified the police, but it was reported as a hate crime. And I do remember that actually leaving the store was quite difficult. I had to wait until what I'd gone in there to accomplish had been done, but the gentleman had to be escorted from the store, and I waited at the far end of the store, but I could see him kind of prowling around the entrance quite threateningly. There was obviously physical risk that he was waiting for me to come out of the store so that he could abuse me some more. But the fact that he'd used the word he'd used obviously showed that the reason he was targeting me was because of LGBT phobia. He used a homophobic slur, but he could have equally used a transphobic slur. He obviously sort of didn't really see there was a difference there. I think as a trans person, you are always waiting for these things to happen. You are always expecting someone to turn on you. But I think as a trans person, you're always acutely aware that people are looking at you, that people know you're trans, and this is why many trans people sort of have dysphoria around going out. Why many people have concerns, because once it happens, you don't know how close it comes to happening at other times. For many trans people, myself included, that there can be a feeling that this is part of the price of being trans. It's always a risk, and the police aren't going to do anything, and there's no point reporting it. It'll just be another statistic. But I felt it was important to report it. We do know that hate crime against trans people is increasing, and that we know that because of the people who do report it. The police did take it seriously. There was a follow-up. There was a call from an officer who dealt with hate crime. They took the details. They were able to go to the store and check the camera records, and they did come back to me to update me. But obviously, although they could identify what the person looked like, you can't press charges. He was a stranger. He was a random person in a shop who had decided that he was going to physically threaten me, and so there was no way to trace him down, so there wasn't anything that could be done any further. It didn't go to court. Obviously, they couldn't identify the person. In terms of the barriers to reporting and telling somebody, I think this was quite a clear thing. I think the fact that he had used a homophobic slur made me go, right, that's definitely a hate crime. And the third party reporting centre, they did get back. There was no restorative justice. There's nothing that you can really do. So you just move on and you get on with your life, and that's the way it is. Since I've kind of gone further with sort of a medical transition, I guess, I hope that taking hormones has made me look less less trans, I guess, or more cis passing. I think for a lot of people, that's one of the reasons why we do go down a medical route, because if we look cis passing, we're less likely to be assaulted, to be victims of hate crime. But I'm lucky. I am 5'6". I don't stand out. I don't have a particular frame that marks me. And so I think for the vast majority of people who I do pass in the street, I have more privilege when it comes to cis passing than other members of the trans community. And that's why I'm kind of relieved that I don't have more experiences. But I know the people who don't have the same privilege as me in cis passing, or maybe have sort of intersecting identities. I'm sure black trans people of color, are even more likely to get abuse than I am. So that's my experience, and it's limited, but I think it does really show that these are real concerns. These happen. These are things that trans people worry about on a daily basis, and that is something that it does need to be taken seriously.